What if Yoda made a clone army of himself? So, in this alternate timeline, Padme Amidala executed Trade Federation leaders Newt Gunray and Rune Hako publicly after the invasion of Naboo. This brutal display earned her the nickname the Goblin Cleaver and launched her political career. Years later, when assassination attempts targeted her, Anakin Skywalker reluctantly became her protector, despite being traumatized by witnessing the executions. Desperate to avoid the assignment, Anakin deliberately argued with Obi-Wan and made inappropriate comments, hoping Padme would request different Jedi. Anakin called this his incompetence strategy. His plan backfired when she misinterpreted his behavior as genuine concern and devotion, something rare in her political sphere. After foiling an assassination attempt involving poisonous arthropods, they traveled to Naboo disguised as financiers aboard a secure business vessel, with Padme's full security detail. During the journey, when disturbing memories of the executions overwhelmed him, Anakin lied that he was worried about his mother. Touched by his apparent vulnerability, Padme immediately diverted their ship to Tatooine, where they rescued Shmi Skywalker from Tusken raiders. Padme's security forces then incinerated the entire Tusken village with flamethrowers. Meanwhile, Obi-Wan, Yoda, and Mace Windu discovered a clone army on Kamino and confronted Jango Fett. When he refused to cooperate, they employed aggressive negotiations, specifically the ancient Jedi technique of the Lashif method, and Jango quickly broke. He confessed that Count Dooku, using the alias Tyrannus, had hired him as both the clone template and for Padme's assassination. Dooku was on Geonosis, building a droid army and meeting with separatist leaders. When Padme learned about Dooku's involvement, her hatred was immediate and visceral. Having already dealt with the Trade Federation decisively, she viewed Dooku as the next threat requiring elimination. She readily offered her untraceable military ships, vessels acquired through shell corporations specifically for covert operations, to Yoda for a surgical strike against Dooku's position. Using these ships, the Jedi bombarded Dooku's location on Geonosis from orbit, destroying the Separatist droid factory and effectively preventing the Clone Wars. But in its place, another conflict would soon emerge. For many years, the Jedi Order had been running a questionable operation on Kashyyyk. Under Yoda's direction, they harvested Wookiee fur to create counterfeit pelts, a profitable enterprise, funding various Jedi activities. They compensated the Wookiees with ordinary rocks, using mind tricks to convince them rocks will do fine. This arrangement worked for decades until, gradually, the Wookiees began developing resistance to these mental manipulations. Due to the stress of managing this increasingly tenuous situation on Kashyyyk, Yoda developed a concerning habit of inhaling paint fumes, which progressively worsened over time. When the cloning facilities on Kamino were discovered, Yoda, who privately referred to Wookiees as primitive scum who can't speak basic, immediately recognized his opportunity. The Wookiees were growing resistant to mind tricks, threatening the Jedi's lucrative pelt business. War seemed inevitable, and Yoda had little faith in Jango clones handling Wookiee strength and forest warfare. He needed an army of himself. With the Separatist threat eliminated, the Military Creation Act died in committee, making the clone army a stranded investment the Kaminoans had already been paid for. Yoda's scheme was perfect. The Jedi had been under Senate investigation for suspicious financial activities for years. By discovering the prepaid clone facility and reporting it to the Senate Banking Committee, they settled the money laundering case against them. Meanwhile, completely unknown to the Senate or Palpatine, Yoda secretly cancelled remaining Jango production in favor of Yoda clones. This clandestine operation remained known only to select Jedi, with the Republic entirely unaware of both the switch and the Kashyyyk pelt operation that necessitated it. Meanwhile, in the 3 years after Dooku and thousands of Geonosians were atomized, Palpatine orchestrated mercenary attacks on Coruscant, manufacturing security crises that led the Senate to deploy the already produced Jango clones as planetary defense. Oblivious to Yoda's secret operation, Palpatine presented this as practical resource utilization, while calculating that these troops would be sufficient for Order 66 to eliminate the Jedi. Without a galaxy-spanning war, the vast majority of Jedi remained concentrated on Coruscant, precisely where Palpatine wanted them for his inevitable purge. During these same 3 years, Anakin and Padme's relationship blossomed into a full-blown romance. Anakin essentially lived at Padme's apartment, and their relationship became an open secret. Also, during this period, Anakin gained an apprentice, Ahsoka Tano. She was initially assigned to Plo Koon, but the Keldor Jedi took the fall for a stock market manipulation scheme orchestrated by the Jedi Council to fund their operations after the Kashyyyk pelt business faltered. The Kaminoans spent 3 years creating Yoda's secret clone army using accelerated aging techniques, resulting in 500,000 combat-ready Yoda clones trained via recorded holos of the original Yoda, demonstrating combat techniques and force abilities, which made them effective fighters, but also caused them to adopt his distinctive speech patterns. When a Wookiee delegation led by Tarful arrived on Coruscant to expose the Jedi's exploitative rocks for pelts trade, an intoxicated Yoda lost his composure during negotiations, calling Tarful a walking carpet to his face. As the Wookiees persisted with their accusations, Yoda publicly smeared them as mentally unwell separatist sympathizers, while privately deciding it was time to deploy his clone army to handle the Wookiee situation. Yoda deployed his secret clone army to Kashyyyk. With no Republic satellites monitoring Kashyyyk and all communications controlled by the Jedi, the conflict remained hidden from galactic awareness. Thus began the secret Wookiee War, confined to the dense forests of Kashyyyk, away from the Senate's prying eyes. And that is where we pick up the story, 3 months into the Wookiee War. Let's begin. The familiar notes of a trending Coruscanti dance track filtered through Anakin's consciousness. His vision went red, not from anger, but from the bright sunlight flooding through the apartment's panoramic windows after Padme had opened the blinds. He groaned, rolled over, and buried his face deeper into the pillow. "Are you planning to sleep through the entire morning?" Padme's voice cut through his drowsiness. Anakin lifted his head reluctantly. Padme stood at the foot of the bed, already dressed in a sleek senatorial outfit, datapad in hand. "What time is it?" he mumbled. 9 in the morning, she replied, settling on the edge of the bed, scrolling her datapad. "Your temple awaits, Jedi." Anakin reached for his datapad on the nightstand and confirmed the time. He also noticed a message from Master Yoda marked urgent. "Shit," he said. "Problem?" Padme asked, not looking up from her datapad. "Yoda's little war," Anakin sighed, pushing himself up against the headboard. "He's called a meeting this afternoon. I bet he wants to send me to manage his clones." "Oh? I thought you liked Kashyyyk," Padme remarked casually, still scrolling through whatever held her attention on the screen. "Like? Kashyyyk? Are you serious?" Anakin's voice rose. "Kashyyyk is a planet only a tree hugger with a death wish could love. Have you seen those spiders? I've never wanted to go there." "Is that so?" Padme asked. She set her datapad down, lifting something else into view. "I think I can suggest a way to get out of the assignment, Anakin." Anakin turned on his side, looking at her properly for the first time that morning. She sat with her back to him, a glass in her hand containing what appeared to be red Nubian wine. "Going to work drunk?" he asked, nodding toward the glass. Padme didn't answer his question. "You could go in there, argue with Yoda, say stupid things, act like a complete moron." She took a slow sip before continuing. "Incompetent, you know. I feel that strategy might save you. Yoda might get someone else to go instead." Her voice remained completely casual, almost indifferent. Anakin chuckled nervously. "Oh, well, I might try that." Padme laughed too, a hollow sound that didn't match her usual warmth. "Just be careful it doesn't send the wrong impression, Anakin. You might end up where you didn't intend." He turned fully, a flicker of unease prickling his senses. She slowly pivoted toward him, her movement deliberate, as she fixed him with an unwavering, uncomfortably penetrating gaze. He raised himself against the bedframe, bringing himself to her eye level. Padme maintained her stare, taking another deliberate sip of wine. "Guess I'll try something else then," he offered weakly. She smiled, a smile that contained multitudes, and poured more wine into her glass. The red liquid flowed like Gunry's blood, all those years back. She extended the glass to him, nodding encouragingly. Anakin accepted it, his throat suddenly dry. He drank deeply while her eyes remained fixed on him. "Are you all right, Padme?" "What do you mean?" she countered. "You seem a little what, Anakin?" "Nothing," he said quickly. "I seem like nothing?" Her voice carried a subtle edge. No, I guess I'm not thinking clearly." "Yes, you do have a problem with thinking at times, don't you, Anakin?" She leaned closer. "You're looking at me weird," he observed. "What? I can't look at my dearly beloved?" She tilted her head. Anakin stammered. "Are you okay, Anakin?" she asked with exaggerated concern. "Anything on your mind?" Her eyes never left his. "No, Padme, nothing." "Well then," she stood. "I have to get going. Unlike you, I need to arrive at work on time." She moved toward the door, then paused. "I'll see you soon, Anakin." The way she emphasized his name left him with an odd feeling of unease. He sensed her departure from the building, left alone with a nagging suspicion. Could she possibly know about his incompetent strategy? He dismissed the thought quickly, Only Obi-Wan knew about that, and his former master hadn't spoken to Padme in years, nor would he betray Anakin's confidence. Whatever was happening with Padme would have to wait. He had a meeting to attend and a deployment to avoid. The Jedi Temple presented its usual serene facade, betraying nothing of the chaos within. Anakin found Yoda in the meeting room, slumped in his chair beside a bucket emanating paint fumes and several empty canisters. After rousing the Grand Master, Anakin learned he was indeed expected to lead a legion of Yoda clones to recapture territory on Kashyyyk. Desperate to avoid this assignment, Anakin seized the opportunity presented by the empty meeting room. No other Jedi had arrived. "Master Yoda, I'll buy you some premium paint if you send Obi-Wan instead," Anakin proposed. Yoda's eyes brightened instantly. His robes were already stained with multicolored splotches, evidence of his growing addiction. Yoda nodded eagerly. "Send Obi-Wan to that hell we will, but good paint you must bring, Skywalker." "Whatever you need, Master." "Based paint it must be," Yoda insisted, using some holonet terminology Anakin didn't recognize. "Based on what, Master?" "Based on bantha milk solids and sarlacc digestive enzymes. For the best meditation fumes," Yoda explained, his eyes glazing slightly at the mere thought. Anakin contacted Ahsoka to handle the paint acquisition. She arrived an hour later, visibly annoyed at being pulled into this scheme. "Ahsoka, there's an important mission. You must secretly buy something for a confidential matter," Anakin explained vaguely. "Is it paint, Anakin?" she asked, already scrolling through her datapad with evident disinterest. "Based paint, Ahsoka. Based on bantha milk solids and sarlacc enzymes. Go get it, or we'll both end up on Kashyyyk." "Why don't you go yourself, Anakin?" she asked. "Why should I when you're here? Now get out of here, Ahsoka," Anakin said, handing over the credits. She departed with a string of muttered curses that would have shocked the Council. While waiting for her to return, Anakin received a message from Padme. "Where are you, my precious?" "At the temple," he replied. "That's good. Did your strategy work?" she inquired. "Haha, yeah. Obi-Wan got stuck with it, Padme." That's good. At least this strategy got you the desired results." Anakin's unease returned. "Is anything on your mind, Padme?" "What? No. Are you okay?" She deflected. "Yeah, I'm fine," Anakin replied. "I'm glad you didn't get sent to Kashyyyk. Someone from Naboo came by today, someone you might remember. Come by later, will you?" "Yeah, sure, but who is it, Padme?" "You'll find out. See you soon." Her final message left Anakin with that unsettling sensation again. With nothing to do but wait, Anakin found a meditation bench in the temple gardens. The lingering fumes from Yoda's paint session left him disoriented, and he soon dozed off. Nearly 2 hours passed before his comm's persistent buzz jolted him awake. Fumbling with the device, he pressed the answer key and cleared his throat. "Anakin, I've got your based paint. Wait there, Ahsoka, don't bring it in." "Why not?" "Just wait. I'll grab a few things and be right there." He couldn't let other Jedi see the paint. Too many questions. Yoda's paint addiction was an open secret. Everyone knew, but pretended not to notice. Above all, Anakin didn't want anyone knowing he was bribing Yoda with paint. Others might try the same tactic. Arriving at the hangar, Anakin found Ahsoka dozing against a stack of crates. He shook her awake, discovering 8 buckets of premium paint lined up beside her. "You got the expensive kind?" he asked, impressed despite himself. "You said to get the best. Now let's move the stuff." Anakin stacked the buckets and placed them in Ahsoka's arms, piling them almost above her head, 4 in each arm. "What are you doing?" she protested. "I can't carry all these." "It's training," Anakin insisted. "Obi-Wan and I used to do similar exercises." "No, you didn't," Ahsoka countered. But Anakin quickly pulled a worn, threadbare blanket from his utility bag and unfurled it with a dramatic flourish. "We can't risk anyone seeing the paint," he declared, throwing the ratty old blanket completely over Ahsoka and the paint buckets. It was clearly just something he'd hastily grabbed from his quarters, with a small tear visible along one edge. "Now you can't be seen." "I can't criffing see anything," came her muffled voice from beneath the blanket. "A Jedi's vision doesn't disappear with their eyes, Padawan. This is the way of unseen navigation, a technique passed down since the Old Republic." Using the Force to sense obstacles, Ahsoka began trudging forward, resembling a walking cone as she muttered colorful Togruta expletives. Anakin walked several paces ahead, his Force signature serving as her primary navigational guide through the temple corridors. He occasionally glanced back, making no effort to mask the smirk playing across his face as the blanket-covered form of his Padawan stumbled after him. They hadn't made it far when they encountered Obi-Wan and Mace Windu. "Ah, there he is," Mace said, his tone accusatory. "Skywalker, you conniving Slimo. You got us sent to Kashyyyk." What's this? Obi-Wan inquired, gesturing toward the blanket-covered Ahsoka. I'm teaching Ahsoka the ancient technique of unseen navigation, Anakin improvised. Is the paint part of this ancient technique? Mace asked dryly. Obi-Wan sighed. Anakin, you're the reason Yoda is losing his mind, and now we have to go deal with his clones. He folded his arms. At least one strategy of Anakin's finally worked. Anakin jolted at the word strategy. What did you say? Mace walked away, mentioning something about meeting at the hangar. Did you tell Padme something about our incompetent strategy? Anakin demanded, once Mace was out of earshot. I haven't seen or heard from that senator in years, Obi-Wan replied. On my holofeed, I have all senators' names and all politics blocked. She's acting weird. Anakin, I told you to be careful of your friend Padme, Obi-Wan said. I'm embarrassed you're with a politician, but even more by your training techniques. I'll train my apprentice as I see fit, Anakin retorted. Obi-Wan shrugged. Ahsoka, do you know how Anakin became a knight? Ahsoka began to respond, but Obi-Wan continued. He was dragged away by Senator Amidala to protect her, and the council begged him to just go with her. They even promised to make him a knight when he returned. The council was desperate because no one wanted to upset the Goblin Cleaver. He talked nothing but trash about her for 11 years, claimed he couldn't even use toothpaste without seeing Neimoidian heads. But 2 days with her, and they were rolling around in the Tatooine sands together after she incinerated a village of Tusken Raiders with flamethrowers. Ahsoka, Anakin interrupted. Do you know why Obi-Wan can't go to the Mandalore system? He has a child with Satine Kryze that he abandoned. Anakin answered his own question. There's a warrant for his arrest for non-payment of child support. Yoda stopped paying for the entire councils after the war began. Obi-Wan's attempt at denial failed spectacularly. At least I have fewer warrants than Ki-Adi-Mundi, he muttered. At this rate, we'll all have to fake our deaths. Did you tell Padme anything? Anakin pressed again. No, Obi-Wan said firmly, and Anakin sensed no deception. As Obi-Wan departed, Anakin stood there, deep in thought, his mind racing with suspicions. If Obi-Wan hadn't said anything to Padme, then how did she... Ahsoka dropped all the paint buckets with a loud clatter, shattering Anakin's contemplative moment. Carry half this yourself, she demanded, pulling off the concealment shroud. Everyone knows about the paint anyway. They delivered the based paint to Yoda, who immediately began burning some in his bucket. Ahsoka shook her head and started scrolling through her feed while Yoda and Anakin talked. Message from Palpatine, you have, Yoda informed him, inhaling deeply from the fumes. Wait, who? Anakin asked absently. The Chancellor, Ahsoka supplied, not looking up from her datapad. Oh right, that guy, Anakin said. He's always tried to be my friend, for whatever reason, but I never paid much attention. Especially after I got together with Padme. They're always fighting for the same constituency base. What did he want? Know that I do not, Skywalker, Yoda replied, sliding down in his chair. Pass out on floor, I did. Anakin turned to Ahsoka. Ahsoka, go see what he wants. Are you serious? Ahsoka exclaimed. Just do it, apprentice. Fine, I'm taking your speeder, she announced, storming out with a string of curses. As she left, Anakin received another message from Padme. She's here, come see. With nothing better to do, Anakin headed back to the apartment. Anakin, there you are, Padme said, opening the door. Anakin sensed no one nearby. Who's here? He asked. Padme nodded toward a side room, and they walked in together. Inside sat a long box that looked vaguely familiar. Anakin's stomach dropped as recognition dawned. Padme opened it, removing a sword, the same one she had used to cut off Gunray's head. Remember her? Padme asked, her voice soft, but her eyes intent. Anakin stared at the blade, unable to look away. What's wrong? Padme asked, her tone suddenly full of exaggerated concern. Nothing, Anakin managed, forcing a cough as memories ambushed him. Gunray's and Hako's heads tumbling across the platform. Padme's triumphant smile as the crowd roared approval. The cheap red temple toothpaste that haunted his mornings. Each morning he'd unscrew the tube's cap and set it aside. The action mirroring Padme removing Gunray's and Hako's heads. The blood-red paste squeezing out completed the nightmarish parallel. Now Padme tested the sword's balance, her movements identical to what he'd witnessed that execution day. Oh, she held the sword straight out, testing its balance. Look at that, Anakin. Steady as a surgeon. Padme slowly pointed the sword at him. Do you remember that day? Yep, Anakin replied. Padme brought the sword closer. Why do you look so tense? This has killed far fewer things than your saber. It's nothing, Padme. Doesn't look like nothing. You seem a bit overwhelmed. Do you have a strategy for things like this, Anakin? Huh? Here, hold it, Padme said, offering the weapon. Anakin considered walking out, but didn't want to seem affected by this. He took the blade. Feels light, he commented. Yes, Padme said, watching him intently. But what's truly extraordinary is, as the blade goes through flesh and bone, you feel it through the vibrations. It's like an extension of you, cutting through. Anakin recognized what she described, though his lightsaber experience was different. Energy blades cut with almost no resistance, unlike metal through flesh. "Anakin, is there anything you want to tell me?" she asked again. Anakin slowly put the blade down. "About what?" "I don't know. You tell me," she asked innocently. "You're acting weird." "Weird? Can't I show my dear Jedi a sword?" For a man who spends his days dismembering spice dealers, cartel rivals, loan sharks, you seem rather freaked out. "I'm not freaked out." "Oh? What else then? Are you all right?" She smiled. "Why are you smiling?" Anakin asked. "What, I can't smile at you now? I can't look at you. I can't smile at you. I can't show you something near and dear to me." Her voice rose slightly. "You know, if I had to guess, I'd say you don't like me all that much. Want me to help you find someone more competent? I could do that for you." "What? No, it's not." His comm chimed. "Duty calls, Jedi," Padme said, grabbing a wine bottle and pulling him down to sit beside her on the couch. Anakin answered. It was Ahsoka with someone cursing in the background. "Anakin, where are you?" Ahsoka asked. "Ahsoka, what's happening?" he asked in return. "I met that creep Palpatine," she continued. "He was clearly expecting you." "Oh, well, what did he want?" Anakin pressed. "Well, he gave me a handwritten letter," she said, as sounds of her chewing something crunchy came through the comm. "It says, 'For your eyes only, Anakin.'" "Where are you? I can't wait to read this." We'll meet at the temple, okay?" Anakin suggested. "Whatever, on my way," Ahsoka confirmed. "Guess you should go," Padme said, drinking more wine. "I'll be back soon," Anakin promised. "I'll be waiting," Padme replied. "Come on, let me walk you out," she added. They walked to the veranda. Anakin stepped toward his speeder, feeling Padme's eyes on him. Before he got in, he heard her call his name. When he turned, she made a sharp chopping motion at her own neck, widened her eyes in an exaggerated mimicry of Gunray's final expression, then burst into laughter before walking back inside without another word. Anakin arrived at the temple, his mind made up. Padme definitely knew about his incompetent strategy. The sword, the veiled comments, it was all too deliberate. He'd explain everything after dealing with whatever this Palpatine situation was. He found Ahsoka scrolling on her datapad, sitting on a bench in the gardens. She handed him the letter without looking up. Neither cared about the Anakin's eyes-only warning. The letter contained Palpatine's offer to save the one Anakin loved from some death he saw, through the power of the dark side. He claimed to know the dark side and warned that without him, the one Anakin loved would die. "Did this guy seem okay to you? Mentally, I mean," Anakin asked when he finished reading. "Yeah, but clearly I missed something. I think he's criffed in the head. Did you see anyone die?" "Well, I saw Padme juggling some knives. She said it's just some weird dream." "Huh. The dark side," Anakin mused. "The Sith use it, right?" "What is a Sith?" Ahsoka asked. "Just an edgy Jedi who uses a red lightsaber or something, I don't know." Anakin shrugged. They took the letter to Yoda, who told them not to waste their time with Palpatine's mental delusions, saying he is not worth anyone's time. They all shrugged as Yoda tossed it into the paint-burning bucket, and they went about their business. Outside, Anakin and Ahsoka paused in the corridor. The chemical sweetness of Yoda's based paint still clung to their robes, a faint haze seeming to follow them through the temple halls. "I sense much stress in you," Ahsoka observed, her eyes slightly unfocused. "Well, Ahsoka, these past few days have been..." Anakin began, rubbing his temples. "Well, whatever it is, I hope everything works out, Anakin," she said before he could finish. "Also, I don't think I want any more screen time. I'm gonna go take a nap." She walked away, her steps slightly meandering, clearly affected by the paint fumes. Anakin blinked slowly, trying to clear his thoughts. The paint fumes were making everything feel slightly disconnected, like he was watching events unfold from a distance. With nothing left to do and his head still swimming from Yoda's paint fumes, Anakin hailed an air cab and returned to Padme's apartment to fix things with her. He found her drunk on the floor, her personal comm lying some distance from her. "Padme, feeling okay?" he said, noticing her sprawled out like a starfish. "Hey, Annie. Only me and Jar Jar call you that, right?" she slurred. "I think so. My mother does as well." "Ah, I remember when we saved her and burned those animals alive." "Yeah, me too. Thanks, Padme. If it weren't for you..." "Oh, it's fine. You saved me from being stabbed to death by worms," she grimaced. "Come on. I have one more thing to show you. You ran off before I could. Help me up." Anakin helped her stand, leaving the bottle she had emptied on the floor. His comm sounded. Annoyed, he turned it off and tossed it onto a couch. Through the lingering based paint fumes, he struggled to organize thoughts on how to explain his incompetent strategy to her. They walked into the same room where the sword had been placed in the corner. Padme told him to sit at the chair behind the desk. She staggered to a corner and pulled a large chest in front of it. Anakin said something, but she ignored him, retrieving a sizable box and placing it on the table before him. Anakin looked at it, then at Padme. She smiled and grabbed another box, positioning the two side by side before tapping on them. "You want to know what's inside, Annie?" Anakin stared at the boxes. "It was hard getting this here, given the preservation required," she explained. Realization struck Anakin instantly. He stood up, hands covering his mouth. "Padme, what the criff is in that?" Padme nodded, taking in his reaction. "Why don't you look and see what's in the box?" Anakin stood frozen. "What's in the box?" he whispered, his voice rising with each repetition. "What's in the box?" Anakin demanded, louder now, panic rising. "What's in the box?" Padme maintained her calm demeanor, watching his growing panic with detached interest. "Tell me what's in the criffing box," Anakin shouted, the room's objects beginning to vibrate slightly as his force powers responded to his distress. "I'm about to show you." She input codes and unlocked the boxes. "Padme, stop. I'm sorry. "For what?" she asked, hands folded innocently. "For the incompetent strategy. For trying to abandon you." "Whatever do you mean, Anakin?" She stared at him. Anakin stammered. Her expression shifted from cluelessness to anger as she threw open the boxes. Anakin flinched violently, throwing his arms up defensively as if expecting severed heads to come tumbling out. Instead, expensive chocolate bars with Gungan-inspired designs spilled out. "Jar Jar's new business venture," she announced. "You son of a womp rat." She stormed to a chair, stumbling slightly. Padme took a breath, her emotions finally pouring out unfiltered. "You know, Anakin, I thought that for once in my life, someone actually saw me as a human, and not the goddamn goblin cleaver. I hate that name, you lying scumbag." "Listen, Padme." "I'm listening." "Go ahead," she said, downcast. Anakin used the Force to steady himself, clearing some of the lingering based paint effects from his system. "I was working off of bad data." "What?" she asked, more confused now. "Listen, it wasn't you, Gunray and Hako deserved it. But seeing their heads roll down like a pair of... something kind of stuck with me. When I saw you, it reminded me of that. It wasn't you, it was the memory associated with you." "Listen," Anakin continued, "when we burned the Tuskens alive and got to know each other, it faded." Padme looked down. "I know, Anakin. I understand, but I had to get back at you or it would have been all I could think about." "So you're not mad anymore?" Anakin asked. "I wasn't really mad, just sad. If you're done with your little act, I'm done with mine," she said. Anakin sighed. "You went a little too far, though, don't you think?" "You made me very sad when I found out, Anakin. I always thought it was special, the way you acted that day. I used to tell my friends how adorable you were, getting all nervous and stumbling over your words, then finding out it was all an act just ruined that memory completely. That's why I needed to get back at you a little. And I would have stopped if at any point you just came clean. Even this morning when I hinted that I knew, and asked if you wanted to tell me anything." "I didn't fully realize you knew," Anakin protested. "There's not getting a hint, and then there's not seeing a brick that crashed into your face," Padme said, then softened. "But Anakin, I am sorry. I just had to get back at you for making me feel like that." Anakin grunted, running a hand through his hair. "I think we're even now, Anakin." She took a deep breath. "This was why I went to Naboo a month ago, had to clear my head, went shooting with Sabé, gave myself time to understand why you acted that way. This prank was all I needed in return. We're good now. Unless you're mad at me, Anakin." "Shooting what?" Anakin asked, pointedly ignoring her question about how he feels. "Oh, nothing important," she said. A smile played at the corners of her mouth. "But seriously, that stupid line of yours, you've grown more beautiful. For a senator. What the hell was that?" "Well, it worked on you, didn't it?" Anakin said, reaching for one of Jar Jar's chocolate bars with its garish packaging, featuring the Gungan's exaggerated grin. Padme snatched it from his hands, breaking the seal with tipsy imprecision. "And you honestly believed I preserved their heads?" "I'm not insane, Anakin. I'm not your Master Yoda," she said. Anakin suddenly snapped into focus, the realization hitting him. "Wait, how did you know about the strategy? Obi-Wan would never tell you." Padme let out a snort of laughter. "The Galactic Senatorial Bar. Palpatine opened it 3 months ago in the Senate's East Wing. Free drinks for all senators, officials, staff, even Jedi." She rolled her eyes. "Obviously an information-gathering operation to blackmail people or something equally pathetic. My security team flagged it immediately. Most of us in serious politics stayed away, but we planted our own people there. She tapped her temple unsteadily. Always counter-surveillance, Anakin. My staff forwarded recordings to me, Bale, Mon. We've been having watch parties. I've never heard of this place. Of course not. You never attend any political functions unless I drag you. She gestured wildly, nearly losing her balance. Those drinks weren't just strong. They were laced with some Corellian truth serum, made everyone extra chatty. And Obi-Wan was there bragging to some Mandalorian woman about his brilliant ancient Jedi technique of strategic incompetence. Then he complained about his idiot apprentice who completely failed at it and got the opposite result. She smirked. He said, and I quote, "The fool tried to appear incompetent and ended up getting himself assigned to her permanently." He went on and on about how you couldn't even use toothpaste. He was practically doing a one-man show about your issues at the bar. Be careful of your friend Obi-Wan, Anakin. Anakin groaned. That criffing idiot. Can't keep his mouth shut for 5 minutes. The bar closed 3 weeks ago, after senators and Jedi started drinking the treasury empty, she laughed. But the bigger reason, what Palpatine probably heard on all those recordings. She dissolved into giggles. The poor man hasn't left his office since. All that surveillance just to document how absolutely no one gives a single shit about him. Not one person. What do you mean? Anakin asked. People would literally walk away mid-conversation when he approached. Anakin. The recordings picked up senators pretending not to see him, changing subjects when he entered rooms. She wiped tears of laughter from her eyes. The only time anyone mentioned his name was to mock his weird walk or that creepy way he says good when he approves something. Anakin laughed too, but his eyes drifted back to the sword in the corner, his amusement giving way to lingering unease. Padme followed his gaze and rolled her eyes. That's just some fake sword. I asked Dorme to buy it a few weeks ago in preparation. She put down the open chocolate bar on the desk and wobbled over to the sword. She picked it up and cut her palm. See? Fake. There's a whole box of these. She opened a nearby closet shelf and took out a box of fake knives. These are extras, she said, then began juggling them. Dorme didn't have the patience to search for one that resembled my execution sword properly, Padme explained as she continued juggling. So she just bought an entire store's inventory of fake weapons and called it a day. I sorted through them, found the best match, and was supposed to throw away the rest. She shrugged, nearly dropping a knife. Some got left behind. These fake knives were part of the haul. Anakin remembered the dream he'd had a few days ago, Padme juggling knives. As he thought about it, the drunk Padme dropped the knives. They fell harmlessly on her with no consequence. He briefly thought back to Sidious's letter, then returned to the moment as Padme sat beside him and picked up the chocolate bar, called Jar Bar, again. So we've resolved this? She asked, studying his face. No lingering resentment, Anakin? No, it's because I'm so in love with you. What? She asked, confused. Nothing, he said. It's the based paint messing with me. She shook her head and took out the jar bar, breaking off the top to give him a piece. It was Jar Jar shaped, and she'd just broken off his head, creeping out Anakin again. Sorry, she giggled, noticing his hesitation. It's fine, he said, nodding. Padme, drunk as she was, slowly shoved the chocolate head into Anakin's mouth. He chewed it and said, It's pretty good. It's because it's got some Gungan herbs mixed in, she explained. Is that legal? Anakin asked, taking another bar and eating the jar bar leg first. I made it legal, she declared. Well, me and that Palpatine. A Naboo always helps another Naboo. Palpatine? Who was he again? Anakin dismissed it as they ate more chocolate and expanded their minds. 18 hours later, Anakin slowly regained consciousness to the incessant screaming of a comlink. He opened his eyes with tremendous effort to find himself sprawled on the bedroom floor. Padme was passed out beside him, chocolate wrappers and empty wine bottles scattered around them. He gently shook her awake. She mumbled something unintelligible, managed to get to her feet, staggered a few steps toward the nearby bed, and immediately collapsed onto it face first. Anakin stumbled toward the relentless noise, fumbling with the device before accidentally pressing the wrong button, answering the transmission. Anakin, is that you? Obi-Wan's voice crackled through. By this point, Anakin had shuffled back to the bed and sat down heavily, looking at Padme's sleeping form. He didn't wake her again. He too just wanted to sleep, but Obi-Wan kept talking. Where the criff have you been? Do you have any clue what just happened? Anakin glanced at the chronometer and realized he and Padme had been unconscious for over 18 hours. Wow, he whispered, genuinely impressed. What happened? He asked, lying down beside Padme and staring at the ceiling. Well, Anakin, get ready. This is like the third act of an epic space opera you likely slept through. You moron. Obi-Wan's voice carried an unusual excitement. So that Chancellor, Palpatine I think is his name, he executed some kind of order to turn the Jango clones on the Jedi. Order 6 or something. What? Anakin sat up slightly. All the clones started shooting at us. But fortunately, most of us were in the temple, and those outside were in bars faking identities. I don't think any Jedi died. Obi-Wan was laughing. Those idiot Jango clones tried and failed to breach the temple's 25,000-year-old lockdown protocols. Temple defenders shot them all down. The younglings poured flammable gas from the windows and burned them. We even sent out those violent animals from the lower levels who killed and ate the clones whole, Anakin. It was a laugh riot. Oh, Anakin said. That's not even the best part. We were on Kashyyyk dealing with all these Yoda clones when Yoda comes us, angry as hell because Palpatine's little stunt interrupted his based paint session. He dispatched 200,000 of his clones to Coruscant. Mace and I went with them and... Oh stars, Anakin. You should have seen it. Thousands of spinning green Yodas chopping up clones. They all seemed completely insane. Obi-Wan could barely contain himself. Soon all the clones were dead and in pieces. Eventually, Yoda himself came out, furious, approached a clone and used the ancient Jedi technique of scrambling one's internal organs. Just sloshed around a clone's insides with the Force and then pulled it all out of his... Obi-Wan, shut up. No one wants to hear all that, Anakin interrupted. What happened to that guy, Palpatine? Oh, Anakin, they found him in his office, dead. Who killed him? Well, Anakin, medically he was fine, but for reasons the droids couldn't explain, he lost the will to live and died. Head on his desk, looking at ignored comm transmissions. Turns out he was a Sith or something. We found some kind of Sith manifesto. Oh? Anakin's interest briefly flickered. Yeah, his name was Darth Sidious? No, Sidious. Huh, who knew? Anakin said, dismissing it entirely. So what's happening now? Well, now the clone rebellion has been foiled. All dead. Palpatine is dead. Tell your senator to get to the Senate. Maybe she can be the next chancellor. Also, the Wookiee war has ended. What? How? Anakin asked. Well, Anakin, they don't call me the negotiator for nothing. The Wookiees didn't agree to us taking their furs for rocks, but they offered something else. There's this moon called Endor with these tiny Wookiee-like things that eat people. The Wookiees agreed to hunt them for us. We can turn them into pelts and also into jerky. They're called Ewoks. Yoda has already selected the distributors. We'll need to give 20% of profits to the Wookiees and some actual credits for their fur. In exchange, we get a new pelt business and food business. Yoda's Jerky, I think is the name Yoda picked. Wow, Anakin said, trying to keep his eyes open. So the war is over, that edgy guy is dead, and we'll soon be very rich, Anakin. I have to go. See you when I return. What happens now, Obi-Wan? Anakin asked. I mean, generally, to all of us. We keep on enjoying life, Anakin. Now see you soon. The transmission ended. Anakin shook Padme awake and told her Palpatine was dead. She immediately perked up, all traces of sleepiness vanishing. In her excitement, she stood up on the bed, stepped directly on Anakin's stomach, and jumped over him to rush toward the door. I'm gonna grow more beautiful, Annie. For a chancellor, I mean, she called back. See you later, my precious. Anakin sensed her leave, feeling very happy, and he was happy too, despite the pain in his midsection. He spotted a Jar Bar chocolate head lying on the desk, simply force-pulled it to his hand, and ate it before falling asleep again.